Hello, and welcome to Appleton Engaged. I'm your host, Timber Smith, Special Assistant to the Mayor for Community, Culture, and Belonging. And Appleton Engaged is a podcast that explores the many people, organizations, and resources that make our community a great place to live, work, and play. So whether you're a longtime resident or just getting to know Appleton, join us as we learn more about our community together. Hello, Appleton Engaged listeners. How are we doing today? Hopefully fantastic. You know it's fantastic in our space, and I think you know why, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because it is Podcast Day. And you already know we get super excited for Podcast Day, but we are on a solo mission today. So I want to just take a quick moment and give a shout out to my co-hosts. Those two are busy with other obligations today, but we miss you in the studio. I am very excited today about today's guest and our organization. I think it's a service that you hear a lot about. I'm not sure you always understand everything that goes into this service until either you or someone you love needs this service. So I'm definitely one of those people, and I am very interested in learning about our resource today. This week's guest is Shana Farrell, the Hospice Volunteer Specialist for ThedaCare At Home. Hey, Shana, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Timber. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it is awesome that you've made time here on Appleton Engaged to talk to the Appleton Engaged listeners. But before we go any further, let's take a moment. And can you please tell us a little something about yourself and your association with Appleton and the surrounding Fox Cities region?
Sure. So, Timber, I grew up on a local dairy farm in the area. I've mostly always lived here, except for when I scooted off to go to school in Milwaukee. Then came back, started a family. The bulk of my career, I was in post-secondary education with Fox Valley Technical College and going through some life change. I had some losses in my family, sort of went through a deep valley, and I rose from those experiences sort of becoming intimately aware of my values and my purpose and my spiritual callings. And that basically led me to do some volunteering in the area. I was a CASA for Outagamie County for several years. And then I pursued another calling as a hospice volunteer. And that's the work that basically led me to continue my time in hospice, as I had actually 3 different roles. I was a hospice care consultant, a bereavement coordinator, and my current role, which is Hospice Volunteer Specialist for ThedaCare At Home.
Wow. Well, first, let me just say thank you for volunteering in our region and helping to make our region a better place.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Learned so much over the years. Been wonderful.
Well, now is your opportunity to learn us. So can you please tell us about your resource?
Sure. So I work for ThedaCare At Home, which is sort of a division within ThedaCare. And it is, so we all know, if we've been in the area for a long time, that ThedaCare is community-owned. It's a nonprofit healthcare system, and it's basically serving northeast and central Wisconsin. It's been around since 1909. Recently, we've had a merger with another large system, Freidert Healthcare System, now Freidert ThedaCare. And our mission is to advance the health of our communities through excellence and discovery, inspiring each person to live their unique, best life. And our vision really is to be your trusted partner, transforming healthcare for everyone, every day. So ThedaCare At Home has been around since 2007. Our Appleton office is located at 3000 East College Avenue. And in that office is basically home care and hospice. And ThedaCare At Home's hospice goal is to provide compassionate care for a patient and family's physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being during a patient's end-of-life journey.
So you mentioned 2 things. You said home care and then you said hospice. What is the difference And then I want to go into home care first. What are some of the services that make up home care?
Sure. If you think about home care, you're thinking of needs that patients would have when they have maybe a chronic health condition where they need healthcare support within their home. So all of the services that would relate where they could have a nurse meet at home and make sure that they have what they need with that condition. Now, when you look at hospice, it would be when that chronic condition becomes more than that and it becomes acute, conditions are getting worse, and you might be faced with getting a diagnosis that is terminal or life-limiting. And that's really where sort of a switch gets flipped and you're on kind of a little bit of a different path and you're looking at life very differently and you want different things. And in that hospice journey, you're really looking at three things. You're looking at maybe wanting to be comfortable, to also want safety, but also you're wanting your quality of life to be the best that it can possibly be, knowing what you're faced with and having the support services that you need for you as a patient, but also the family that's supporting you, that you have what you need. So we're doing that in a few different ways. We're trying to ease symptoms and pain. We're also providing medication and supplies that are needed, but then we're also caring for your emotional and spiritual needs along the way, also offering respite care. And that opportunity is helpful sometimes if you have a caregiver and they're getting burned out. Compassion fatigue is a real thing. And we don't, we may sign up to have a partner, but not necessarily to have to take care of their health care needs. So not everybody is up for that challenge. And I think sometimes people need support and family needs a break and they need support as well. So it's kind of caring for that whole holistic journey and whatever that situation, person, and family needs.
So you have support systems in place for the individuals, but you also have support systems in place for those individuals that support those other individuals.
Correct.
That's pretty important. And it is something that I think there's more and more conversation about making sure that there are support systems in place for those that do support their sick family members.
Exactly.
So how do you connect with the services? Is it something you sign up for? Are you referred to it by your provider, your medical provider? How does one connect?
Right. So typically a physician will write a hospice order, and that is sort of the official item that sort of helps you think through what your options are. So you get a hospice order, which could mean you could utilize hospice if you'd like to do that. And you would have the option then from your primary care physician to look at, through where you get your health care as a hospice resource, or you could look at any of the resources in the community where you could just do a Google search, and there are other agencies that provide hospice. They all have a different philosophy and mission, but if you've got a ThedaCare physician, you can start asking questions about hospice, and they can get you connected that way. So going through ThedaCare certainly, but also just looking at the resources in your community, who provides hospice care locally, and then you'd have the option to look at what you think is going to be the best fit for you. Sometimes people need to understand a little bit more about what is hospice, right? Because that's a word sometimes that has a very negative image to it, sort of a doom and gloom image. And I think I'm probably here to debunk that myth a little bit today by saying that with more comfort, with more safety and a better quality of life and having the support systems that you need when you're dealing with things like fear, uncertainty, things like that, you need to have someone you can rely on to give you the support that you need for it to be the best possible experience. And so although we can't sometimes change the outcome, we can still impact the journey in a very, very positive and powerful way.
Are there things in place for the home care and hospice to partner with the individual's family.
When you say partner, are you thinking that we are maybe meeting with them? Because as the services happen, we're actually meeting with them depending on what the family or the patient would like. We're meeting with them to discover what their needs really are. So we're always there asking difficult questions, but vulnerable questions during that time to figure out what services they want to take advantage of, maybe some services that they feel like they don't need at the time, but as their condition changes, those services could probably come into play.
That's exactly what I mean. Because I look at partnership that if I'm a family member and I have a family member who needs these services, I want to be informed. And then I also want to be able to give input because of the care that maybe there's things that particular family member has shared with me. And I want to make sure that I'm honoring wishes.
Correct. And I think honoring wishes and keeping a person's dignity throughout the process is really critical, because I think what I've learned in this work as being a hospice volunteer myself, you really do learn a lot about humanity, that we all have certain struggles and we all suffer, just we do it differently. But I think when you start to have those deep conversations with families and find out the root of some things and how we can help and how we can support, it has always brought me a lot of joy, because the impact is huge. And you really do, in this work, get a very positive view of humanity. And there's a connection there, even though sometimes hospice can seem a bit isolating. It's the people that get engaged and step in with open arms, and I will say with open hearts, that make all the difference in that person's experience, in that family's experience. But I'm going to go even further than that. I'm going to say this is going to impact their grief experience, and the ripples of that will be lessened when it's done well, when it's done right.
Because you feel that your loved one is being properly cared for and provided for.
Exactly.
Am I hearing that?
Exactly. Security, peace, and trust.
Wow. I feel that. Well, you gave us one misunderstanding. I'm going to ask, is there any other lessons to be learned? Because, for the sake of the Appleton Engaged listeners, this is what I would call maybe a little bit of an intimidating conversation for some. And for some are ready for it. But I feel like we're doing a really good job of lessening that intimidation by sharing, by pulling back the curtain.
Right.
What else can you share with us that would help us understand?
Yeah, I think, the empathy, I'm going to speak to some of my current volunteers right now that are in the field. They have their sleeves rolled up. They're doing this work. The empathy that they have of patients, and again, trying to understand the situation that they're in, providing socialization for them, sometimes companionship. Sometimes it's important for patients to walk through their life. Like, we refer to that as a life review. And sometimes that process can bring up things and other services where we can get other people involved, maybe even provide some intervention or get them something sort of out of the scope of what they think would be typical. An example I can think of is if you have someone who's had really quite an extensive life and has done some just amazing things, and they want to get that life story recorded. We actually have a service for that we provide, where we're able to do an interview with the patient, and we're able to record that for them and provide that as a legacy piece to the family in the form of either a video recording. Sometimes we scrapbook it, sometimes we'll do a journal, but that's a beautiful keepsake for that family to have. We also do something called Hopes and Dreams, and that is if a patient has a last wish that maybe they didn't have an opportunity to do something in their life, or they enjoy a certain interest, they would love a certain type of experience, and we're able to provide that to them before they move on and transition. So I think it's just that learning about what makes that individual unique and how we can celebrate their life with them and sort of be in that difficult space, that very vulnerable space, so that they're not alone. I mean, I think for me, that's why I was called into this work. I felt like God didn't want people to die alone and he needed me to help. So I sort of feel like when we listen to those things, and I think hospice is such a sacred space that it's really important. I know a lot of my coworkers will follow their gut, follow their heart. It's telling them to do something or say something or, lead the way in some sort of a different fashion. And I think those sorts of things make all the difference to patients and families when they look back at their loved one's life and even how they passed away, because that all matters. And some people have a really hard time with the death part of it and what they remember. So it's important we do it well.
How big is the team?
Well, it depends on what team. So each patient has a team of different individuals, but then that support them. But then we also have the home care team through ThedaCare At Home, and then we have the hospice team through ThedaCare At Home. So I would say we've probably got about 90 or so in the hospice care team. And then when you look at the team of people that support patients, we've got the doctors, because they can still continue to keep their current doctor that they have. And then they've got a nurse, they've got a social worker, a CNA, a chaplain, and then an additional support person, if they'd like, a bereavement support person as well. So sometimes when people admit onto hospice services, there are these layers of grief. First with your chronic diagnosis, then your terminal diagnosis, then you have, wow, now they're telling me I can go on hospice. So that's another layer. And I think there's something I refer to as sort of pre-bereavement, where there's a support system that they need while they're with us, and it can help with some of those life losses, loss of independence, and things like that. So there's that bereavement support that they can have before, or then whoever is supporting that person on their bereavement journey, they are also following them for 13 months after they pass to give them support as well.
So I want to go a little more specifically into the volunteer journey. And what are the things, because I'm thinking of Appleton Engaged listeners right now thinking, I might want to be a volunteer. What do these volunteers get to do?
Sure. So volunteers, the bulk of the work that they do are patient visits or family visits. So they're providing that human connection through that patient visit. And they're doing that to provide them with socialization, with some companionship, providing life review or respite care to the caregivers, and even providing peaceful presence support, just being with that patient or their family when they're actively passing away. So everything I think that our volunteers do with patients helps give them a purpose. They have a reason to look forward to that next volunteer visit. That volunteer is there to be with them. That's their main interest. They're not coming in with a specificity that I talked about with our other team members. They're coming in to really just be, not to do. And they're coming in to provide them with more meaning in their life. And I think there's some unique ways that our volunteers can support as well with music enhancement, because for those patients that really love music, music can really help with some of the pain and symptoms. We also have pet therapy volunteers, where those pets coming in can provide something very lighthearted and fun and joyful as well. We also have some volunteers that are out there doing haircuts and nail painting, basically to help people still feel good about themselves, even when they may not be feeling good with their pain and symptoms. They can still enjoy feeling good about who they are. And we also have volunteers, Timber, that help with patient visits. Outside of that, they're helping with administrative work, bereavement support, and community outreach.
I like what you said, that their primary focus is to just be there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Shana, at this time, can you please share a story with the Appleton Engaged listeners that'll help us understand the impact of these services?
Well, the one thing that is coming to mind is a family visit that I had in my career where it was a terminal diagnosis, and I went into the home of a patient. It was the husband actually that had admitted himself onto hospice services, and his wife was very devastated. And I walked into that home to talk to the family about hospice, and the wife was very tearful, and all of their children were there. And in that conversation, they were very emotional and sobbing and just basically trying to come to grips with the news of their dad and husband and what his situation was going to be, and that he wasn't going to be around as long as they thought. And I think that experience for me was to talk through each of the different people who would be visiting them to support them, how he could still work with his doctor, how he could have nursing support, have all of the durable medical equipment that he needed, to have this whole support system of a CNA helping with things like grooming and daily living activities and things like that. I think learning about all the various services, the social worker, the chaplain support, that holistically mind, body, and spirit, that their dad would be supported and have these additional services was bringing some peace of mind. The family got to answer quite a few questions, or they got to ask quite a few questions, and I was able to share details, which was wonderful. But as I sensed that the room was getting lighter and I walked to the door, that patient met me at the door and he said, "Can I give you a hug?" And that was really emotional for me because, how often does it happen that you have someone that you don't know really well and they come up to you and they give you this hug? You're in someone's corner. And I remember that day I kind of got out to my car and was sort of processing the conversation, and I think I probably cried the whole way home because, again, even though I couldn't change the outcome for that patient, I was still able to affect the journey in a positive way by letting that family know that we've got you. We've got you covered. We've got all these services for you, and we can help you in this time of need, and you can lean on us. And that felt really good to know that as I'm driving away, I felt a very strong sense of I'm in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. And purpose and meaning for volunteers is a big part of what we do. I mean, it's why we're here. It's why we exist. And I would say if someone's got maybe something tugging on your heartstrings a little bit about what you want to do with your life and how you want to use those empathetic gifts, those highly sensitive, empathetic gifts that you have are really needed to help those who struggle or suffer right now. And I know we can put you to good use as a hospice volunteer and utilize that and give you also purpose, meaning, and joy in your life.
Are there any upcoming initiatives, events, or engagement opportunities?
I can't think of in a specific event, but what I will tell you is that we do partner quite a bit with Volunteer Fox Cities, and we do attend different open houses, senior fairs, things of that are happening pretty much throughout the year. So you'll see ThedaCare at many of those, and you can feel free to just, keep your eye out for those or through the Volunteer Fox Cities website. I know they're always plugging stuff that we're doing, so we work collaboratively with them all the time.
Is there anything the community can do to be helpful?
Absolutely, Timber. So we always have opportunities to get engaged. based on what I said earlier, your unique gifts, maybe you have an interest in getting involved in a certain way. However, we can help you live your unique purpose and really fill your cup, but also at the same time support somebody else who really needs you in their life. So if you're feeling called to be a hospice volunteer, let's chat.
What would you tell an Appleton Engaged listener right now who might be on the cusp of thinking about becoming a volunteer? What would you share with them?
About what it's like to be a volunteer?
Or maybe the thing that maybe they've got a few questions and they're almost there, because you know how that line works. Sometimes you're looking right ahead and you're thinking, oh, I think this fits or this would be me. But there's just that little bit of nudge or little couple of nuggets of information they need that will help them commit.
Sure. So if someone is interested in being a hospice volunteer, it always starts with a phone call and a very transparent, personal, deep, usually, conversation about, what's your why? Who are you? And what's your why? Because when we know that, we can design different hospice volunteer opportunities to meet your needs. And it's a win-win. But it really just starts with a phone call with me, actually. So there's actually two people in my role, Timber. There's me in the Fox Valley area, and then I have a colleague, Sarah Lederer. She's up north in Wapaka and Shano and Berlin. But we both start the conversation with a we call an interview, but it's not that intimidating, frankly. It's basically just you getting the chance to ask questions, and no question is silly. Literally, we will make sure that when you have those questions, we can transparently answer them and tell you kind of what to expect as far as the time commitment and some things you might experience, but also what our training looks like, what our onboarding looks like. And I think in that process, they usually get what they need in that phone call to kind of make or break that decision, right? Like they kind of have a sense of, I don't know if this is for me, but we try to share, Sarah and I try to share as much as we can right up front so that they really know what they're getting themselves into.
Who can people contact if they would like to learn more?
Sure. So in the Fox Valley area, certainly reach out to me, Shana Farrell. So my phone number is 920-422-7583. Or if you feel more comfortable sending me an email, that works as well. And it's Shana Farrell, SHANA Farrell, F as in Frank, ARRELL, at ThedaCare.org. Or if you want to start with our website, that's another option. It's ThedaCare.org. You can click on the volunteers link to submit a hospice volunteer application. That sort of starts out the process. And it's a specific at-home volunteer form that you can fill out on that website to kind of get you in the queue. Once I get those applications, I follow up, Timber. We have that very detailed conversation. Sometimes we talk even after that. Many people, I think, that are interested in hospice volunteering also need this moment of discernment time to really think through the scenarios that we talk about to see, can I do this work? And then it's my job as the hospice specialist to make sure that that person feels empowered and confident through the training that we provide.
Appleton Engaged listeners, as you know, we always put our guests' contact information in the podcast notes, so you can check the podcast notes for the contact information. Shana, is there any additional things you would like to share with the Appleton Engaged listener that maybe we didn't ask a question about?
I'm thinking that the one thing I'm thinking about is how if people are apprehensive and they really have a fear about this work and maybe feel like they aren't courageous, what I would tell you is that this work has the tendency to help you grow as a human being and I think create more bravery in your life to help you deal with fear and to help build your confidence and to give you that sense of impact that you can have on another individual's life. I think that opportunity is really helpful to think through how we can support you in creating a better life for yourself at the same time as helping another human being. So I say be brave, give us a call, we'll talk it through. We'll talk through any concerns you might have and prepare you to do work that is very life-changing for you and someone else.
Okay, Shana, it is now time for your shout-outs. Who would you like to shout out?
I'd like to do a shout-out to all the current ThedaCare at Home hospice volunteers, Timber, because they show up with their time, their bravery, their vulnerability, and their dedication. They contribute in so many different ways to support our patients and our families every single day. I also want to give a shout out to other members of the ThedaCare at Home hospice team, our doctors, our nurses, our social workers, CNAs, chaplains, and bereavement support team. You guys get it done, and I'm so proud to work with all of you. And I want to thank all of the generous community donors who support ThedaCare's family of foundations, which supports many of our hospice initiatives such as music enhancement, pet therapy, hospice hopes and dreams, and Every Life is a Story, and our We Honor Veterans program.
Amazing. Well, at this time, Shana, we want to just take a moment to say, on behalf of Appleton Engaged listeners and myself, thank you.
Thank you, Timber. I appreciate that. I'm humbled.
Appleton Engaged listeners, we are going to start wrapping up this episode. This was a powerful episode. I can't tell you the type of energy that was in this space as we talked about this. I really have a new outlook on those who provide care and dignity when we are going through health challenges. I challenge our amazing community to think about this as one of the options, is how to give back to our community, because I think it's pretty important. Okay, Appleton Engaged listeners, you know what I'm going to say. We are trying to become the #1 podcast in Northeast Wisconsin, and we can't do it without your help. So what does that look like? Well, as you listen to this episode and you're thinking, Timber, you had more questions to ask. I wish you would ask this, or you should ask that. Let us know. If you're thinking, I would be a fantastic Appleton Engaged guest, or I know this organization that the community should definitely learn about, let us know. And you can let us know by emailing us at belonging@appletonwi.gov. Once again, that is belonging@appletonwi.gov. Also, you know we are firm believers here at Appleton Engaged that an informed community is a strong community. And one of the ways you can learn more about your community is through this amazing resource known as the Appleton Engaged podcast. But for that to happen, we need your help. So while you're listening to this episode, if you see a button that says subscribe, hit it. If you see the opportunity to give stars, give us 5. If you see the opportunity to write a review, do it. These are all things that increase our analytics. And the better our analytics are, the more community members learn about this amazing resource known as the Appleton Engaged podcast. Okay, Appleton Engaged listeners, I just once again want to acknowledge the impact of this conversation. Be one of those people out there who want to help provide dignity to those who are in their health challenged stage. I just think that says so much about us as individuals, but also the character of our community. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay curious, and stay engaged.